If you're like me and you're blessed, or I guess maybe the word should be cursed, right? The word should probably be cursed. With fine hair, you know the struggle of trying to get volume that actually lasts. One gust of wind, one drop of humidity, and boom, we are back to flat city. I know that most of you don't believe me when I say that my hair is fine because it usually looks like this in all of my videos. Well, when I wash my hair with shampoos and conditioners that are too heavy for it, when I dry it without products and I flat iron it, this is what my hair actually looks like. When I style my hair like most people style their hair, this is how my hair looks. This is what it actually looks like. I can fit my entire head of hair into one tiny claw clip, which is shocking, I know. So then how do I get it to look like this, and like this, and like this? Today I'm sharing all of my secrets. I'm bringing you some updated tips and a whole new bag of tricks to getting your hair looking full and beautiful and having it last all day long. Let's go. Tip number one is to use a volumizing shampoo and conditioner. Heavy shampoo formulas are the enemy to fine hair, okay? Even if you do everything right after this step, if you start with a heavy product in the shower, no other step will work, trust me. I was actually using the Olaplex shampoo and conditioner for the last month or so because I really wanted to repair my hair after getting a full head of highlights. And my hair for this whole month was so flat and lifeless. Nothing I did or used, none of my tricks could make it look full after using that shampoo and conditioner. If your goal is fullness, it's not necessarily health or repair, it's fullness, what you wanna do is look for a lightweight volumizing product. So when choosing a shampoo and conditioner at the store, you're gonna wanna look for words like lift, lightweight, body, full, right on the bottle. You really want to look for those kind of trigger marketing words because that's going to tell you that that shampoo is formulated to be light and give your hair lift. Now, when it comes to actually shampooing, make sure that you're parting your hair and really working the product into every area of the scalp to get rid of all traces of oil and residue that could weigh your hair down from the root. When you condition, you want to do the opposite. You want to actually avoid the scalp and only work the product from the mid shaft to the end. Tip number two is to use a root lifting spray or mousse. I'll be honest, there was a time not too long ago when I thought products, especially volume products, didn't really make that much of a difference. I figured it was all about the styling techniques. And while techniques are super important, after testing my hair with and without products more times than I can count, I can tell you this, volume products are a total game changer. They don't just add lift, they also help your style last so much longer, especially when paired with the right styling techniques, right? Ideally, what you're gonna wanna do is use two products together. You're gonna wanna use one that's specifically made for your roots and another for your mid-lengths and ends. The key here is to apply both products while your hair is very damp because hair can be manipulated really easily when it's wet, but not so much when it's dry. So for root lifting sprays, you wanna focus on the areas where you want volume, which is usually above the ears, the crown, and the front of your head. Work section by section, parting the hair and spraying directly at the roots. For the mid-lengths and ends, just distribute the product as evenly as you can. Then use a brush to make sure it's fully worked through. Tip number three is to blow dry for volume. So you're gonna wanna start by rough drying your hair to remove about 50% of the water. This not only makes your blowout faster later, it's gonna save you a lot of time, it also actually reduces heat damage because wet hair is more fragile and it's much more prone to breakage. So if you are really using a lot of tension in your blowout when it's very, very wet, for one, it's gonna take forever, but it's also gonna be damaging. So you're definitely gonna wanna rough dry before you go in and do a round brush blow dry. Now, when rough drying, you need to focus on lifting your roots up. Hair is super malleable when it's wet and it sets its shape as it dries. So if you dry your roots flat or downwards, it's gonna be pretty much impossible to get them to stay lifted later. So what you wanna do is use your fingers to lift the roots as you dry or tilt your head upside down for even more volume. Now, tip number four, you've heard it here 100 times, you're gonna hear it again. If you are chasing major volume, nothing will beat a round brush blowout. Nothing. It's my go-to every single time I wash my hair because the results are just that good. You can use a classic round brush with a blow dryer. A lot of people do it that way. My personal favorite way is using a blowout brush. It's so much easier. It makes the process so much easier to hold one thing than two. When you're giving yourself a blowout, you do want to pay attention to this technique though. When you get to the sections above the occipital bone, which is that little bump here at the back of your head, you're always going to want to move the brush upwards. This keeps the lift at your roots and ensures that you're building volume as you go. You're stacking volume as you go. You also want to make sure that before moving on to the next section, the section you're working on is 100% dry. If the hair is even slightly damp, it's going to lose all its shape and all your hard work will just pretty much go to waste. Since we're on pro tips, another pro tip is to use the Cool Shot button on your dryer to lock in each section after drying. Cool air actually really helps set the style and makes your blowout last much longer. And if you're going for that extra oomph, you want to try actually over directing your hair. So this means pulling the brush slightly in the opposite direction of where you actually want the hair to fall. That in and of itself, along with the Cool Shot button, is going to give you insane lift at the roots. Tip number 5 is to curl without collapsing the volume. One of the biggest challenges with fine hair is that traditional hot tools can actually squash all the volume you've worked so hard to create. When you use a straightener or a curling iron with 2 hot plates, right? It naturally compresses the hair in the middle, flattening out the lift at the roots and in the mid lengths. Something I've noticed in fine hair clients so much when I was doing bridal styling. I would give them the best blowout of their life and then I would curl it and it would look flat again. And that's because the hot tool was squishing the volume. So if you want to add movement and texture, like I really prefer my hair with some texture, but you don't want to sacrifice volume, I have a trick. Okay, you're going to want to switch to a curling wand instead of an iron. Unlike a traditional curling iron, a wand only heats up one side of the hair, which is much gentler and much less likely to collapse your style. Another key is to actually dial down the temperature. Fine hair doesn't need super high heat to hold a curl, and lowering it helps protect your strands while maintaining their natural body. You're still going to keep the volume while still getting the shape. If you want even more lift, you're also going to want to start curling slightly away from the roots instead of right at the root. This will keep the root lifted and prevent any of that unnecessary flattening, especially near the crown, you know. Just start curling a little bit lower so that you don't add heat here and then squash everything. Tip number 6 is to tease the right way. Teasing isn't just an 80s throwback, you guys, okay? It's a tried and true method for adding major volume when it's done right. So start by grabbing a fine-tooth comb and work in small sections of hair at the crown, okay? Hold that section taut and gently backcomb the underside with short, controlled strokes towards the scalp. Short, controlled strokes towards the scalp is like a tongue twister. This will create a cushion of volume at the root without tangling your hair into like a hot mess. After you finish the crown, you will want to do some sections on the sides to give it balance so you don't have all this volume here but like no volume here. It looks really weird. So just go through the sides again in those really kind of skinny sections and backcomb right into that base of the hair. You can see the difference of teasing and not teasing right here in this clip. It is a very big difference. Once you tease the areas that you want to lift, then you just take the top layer of your hair, you smooth it over. That ensures that everything looks sleek and polished and not really messy. Honestly, the key when it comes to backcombing is to not overdo it. Teasing should add height, it should add fullness, it should add longevity, style longevity, but it should not look overly dramatic or messy or outdated. Okay, it can look outdated really quickly, so just start slow. Another pro tip here for you is if you want extra hold, just spritz a light mist of hairspray on each section as you tease, and then you can finish with a final mist over the smooth top layer. That will just lock everything in place and it will keep your volume intact all day long. I know there's a lot of curiosity when it comes to backcombing, so if you guys want a whole video, a walkthrough on how to backcomb for volume like this in a really detailed way, please let me know in the comments. I would be happy to make that for you sooner than later. Tip number 7 is to invest in a great texture spray. If you want full lifted hair that stays put, A texture spray is your secret weapon, okay? Unlike hairspray, texture sprays add grip and body throughout your hair without having any like stickiness or stiffness to it. It's the perfect kind of spray for fine hair. So to get the most out of this type of spray, don't just focus on the roots. You're actually gonna wanna spray from underneath. So you actually wanna do kind of the opposite, and that's gonna build the volume up. Here is the final result. This look is lifted, it's full. These techniques really will give you the illusion that you have about double the amount of hair that you do. No one's gonna believe your hair is fine because no one seems to believe that mine is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you feel beautiful today. This video's over.